Well, thank you all for coming. A couple of people have asked, are these my photos? Good Lord, no. These are the best from around the world. Two things that occurred to me this morning. One, it should not say the best. It should say some of the best. Because particularly with the advent of two things, the camera phone, high quality, and the internet, the number of really great photographs that are out there is absolutely stunning. So what I did is I spent several hours trying to figure out a representative group of photographs to share with you. So the first question is, who says they are the best? Well, these are the sources from which I drew. National Geographic, Time, Getty Images, Newsweek Magazine, the Associated Press, Seattle Times, The Guardian, Atlantic Magazine, World Photography Association, and then finally one source, me, because it's an editorial choice about what gets included. And I thought long and hard about what to include and what not to include. Over the last year, the most significant events going on worldwide have been tragedies, earthquakes, floods, and of course wars. I have made the editorial decision to not include those photographs. We see enough of that. There are a couple of photographs I have in there that touch on that, but I decided to stay away from that and just look at some of the more interesting and exciting things. The other thing I thought of this morning is we'll start with fireworks from New Year's from around the world. And then I dawned, this is supposed to be best photographs of 2023. Well, the series you're about to see now happened in the first 10 minutes of 2024. So I apologize for that. Well, let's start at home. I don't know how many of you tried to see the fireworks off the Space Needle. It was dead calm. So the smoke just enveloped the Space Needle, and you watched it on television, you couldn't see anything. What I like about this photograph is photography, probably the most important attribute of a good photographer is patience. Just wait, be ready, wait until the right thing comes along. And this photographer managed to capture a fairly good photograph out of a terribly bleak situation. There were fewer clouds and more excitement in other parts of the world. Paris. The Brandenburg Gate at Berlin. Dubai. Here's one of my favorites. Sydney, Australia. And just look at the span of those fireworks. I think if there's anywhere I'd like to go see fireworks at the beginning of the year, it would be Sydney. And it's just a spectacular photograph because look at the reflection in the water. Bangkok, Thailand. Belgrade, Serbia. Fireworks exploding everywhere, except Times Square where they use confetti. Where is this? Isn't that a great photograph? Getting up high so that the landmark is there, and then the line of the fireworks, including the one that is the halo around the head of the Statue of Jesus. Yep, the Parthenon in Athens. So what makes this a really great photograph is that the photographer, rather than being on the other side of the hill shooting the fireworks in the sky, came back here. Those fireworks are behind it. So it creates this real sense of you know exactly where it is. And then one shot of fireworks rather than filling the sky, so there's more drama. London. Yeah, you see the Great Wheel? So all of these that we have looked at have been wide shots. They're all excellent. But when looking at photographs, one of the questions you ask yourself is, well, what's the story? What's going on here? And those kinds of panoramics are peaceful, interesting. There's not a lot of drama, like what's there? Where's the story? This is the wheel. Same event. But there's mystery here. Why aren't there any people in those cars? Well, probably they've been roasted if they've been in there. But the photographer captures just those three with the backdrop. And the interesting thing about photography and art is if you have three items in it, the brain stops and says, wait a minute, what's going on? If they're even, 2, 4, 6, 8, the brain just says, okay, yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. So when you put just three items, then the brain stops and investigates. And then what I love is the instead of just having a flat frame at the bottom, you have that nice gentle arc. There's still one element missing for mystery: the human. Where is this? Big Ben, you know. When is it? I don't know if you can see well enough. It's 12 minutes after midnight. So we know where it is, we know what time it is. Now the question is, were they all, the fireworks, all that just white? I don't think any of these photographs have been manipulated. What I like about this is a color photograph, because if you look above the clock face, you can see the color. But then on the right, you have this person. We don't know anything about this person. But you have this explosion coming out of his or her head, which is kind of like, boom, here it is. There are lots of questions that come out of when you look at it. So a thought about these sorts of things. A prism is a device that separates light into different colors. We've all seen that. We sometimes see colors that we may not have noticed before. Like a prism, a photographer's eye takes what is there and makes it visible. Those kinds of things that we might have missed. That's why we slow down and investigate the photograph. In sports, great venue for action shots. This is golfer Sam Burns hitting the ball out of a sand trap. What I really like about this is the composition. He is off to the left, right? Then a huge blast of sand and turf taking your eye up and out of the frame, and then look over to the right. The ball. The club shaft is in perfect alignment with the sand. The other thing that makes this is the lighting. On the top of his head, top of his arms, and the top of the ball. Look at that. This is Sha'Carri Richardson crossing the finish line of the 100-meter dash U.S. Track and Field Championships. What is that in front of her? Exactly. It's the tape she has just run through. And you see she's got her left hand clenched, but her right hand, the tape is caught in her fingers if you look at it. Okay? For me, the two elements that make this are her face. But look at the person who finished second. And the fact that the tear in the tape framed her face. So there is a certain amount of luck, but it's being ready. You know, luck is nothing but preparedness meeting opportunity. I just think that makes that a dramatic photo. First and second place and the tape. Talk about energy in a photograph. That's guard Andre Jackson Jr. He's dunked the ball in the Final Four championship. And what's fascinating, I mean, he has run down the court, left way high, and now his momentum has carried him to make him perpendicular to the floor. Or parallel, I'm sorry. And so, it is pretty amazing. But there are a couple other little elements in this photograph that I like. If you look on the right, his teammates coming off the bench. But look between the two players who are on the floor. That one person jumping up, arms spread. Which team is that person supporting? Well, maybe. We don't know. Drama. Then there is energy and focus. first saw it, I went, wait a minute, why is that diamond just below her nose? It's a water drop. The other thing is, look at her eyes. Are they a little bit crossed? Yeah, they look like it. But the energy, the force in a swimming pool, which is countermanded by beauty in a swimming pool. This is Evangela Papalaphagosa, or something like that, very long Greek name, an artistic swimmer from Greece. She's competing in the European Games last summer. The photographer, Adam Petty, says, several elements created this photograph. Obviously the lighting, right? The background and the shapes combined with the action. If you look at the muscle in her leg, and then come over to the right and the way she bent her toes up, what gets me though about this is her face is almost serene. Even though she's exerting a tremendous amount of effort, has to be. And then there's the light blue on the bottom, the medium blue between her face and the leg, and then dark blue to black. Color has a real impact. In this next photo, the color is subtle, adds to it. The greensward, however you say that. Obviously, this is cricket championship in Rawalpindi, Pakistan. Why do I like this photograph? 3 layers. See at the bottom layer? They're all leading in. Then the next one, and then the top one. Every person in this photograph, save one, is in some sort of motion or anticipatory set. That creates the dynamic part of this photograph, countermanded by the very top figure, the referee or umpire. I think he even has his hands in the pocket, for one of them. Who is that? Megan Rapinoe. This is at the Women's World Cup in Australia last July. The reason for me that this is a truly outstanding sports portrait is the photographer has framed her face in the only parts of her body she cannot use in her sport. And I'm sure that was intentional. Here's one of my real sports favorites. Coco, winning the U.S. Tennis Open in September at age 19. Power, absolutely power, and concentration. And of course, she won. That is the exact moment she knows she won. How do we know it is the exact moment? Her racket has not yet hit the ground. Look at the background. You know, some people, maybe they don't quite realize it. But then particularly the fellow with the black hat, I mean, it's like, you're not even there. Don't know what he was looking at. And who did she beat? And how do you depict that? Ariana Sabalenka, number 2 ranked in the world, captured in her racket. What do you see here? Pain? Well, clearly you see the player, San Diego Padres center fielder Trent Grisham, and he has run into the wall. Pardon? Yeah, you'd like to hear the sound. Well, that's really great. You can imagine the sound. What's really interesting, great question. If you look to the right, there it is. Okay? Now, if they've been cropped so that that ball wasn't there, here's what happened. He ran after the ball, right? Obviously ran into the fence, whack. The ball bounced along the top of the ledge and back into the field of play. So it turns out it was not a home run. Ground rule double. Who hit that? Seattle Mayor Dylan Moore. And this was shot by Lindsay Wasson for Time magazine. There is other high drama in sports. This is not trick photography. So in a place called Nazir, Portugal, there are the tallest waves in the world. And people get towed out by jet skis to ride them. And this is a person just exiting. To me, it's just stunning because it gives you a sense of the size of the wave. As I said, it's not manipulated. Neither is this one. Isn't that something? This photo won top prize for motion photography at the 2023 Sony World Photo Award, done by Dehan Zhou. What's important is it's not just the colors, although they're really vibrant. There are several things that make this a spectacular photo. Obviously, the angle. The photographer got down low and waited for the horse and come down and turn around the barrel. If you look at their, the most powerful element in a photograph is a triangle. And if you go from the top of her head down the horse's face, and then from the top of her head down her leg, you see that it does form a triangle. There's another triangle inside by the horse's leg. That really cements the photograph. There's one little note, though, that makes all the difference in the world that you may not notice, that a photographer would have rejected this photograph if the horse's head had been 6 inches lower. If the horse's head had been touching the top of the barrel, obscuring part of the barrel, the photograph would not have the same dynamic power that it does this way. So a little trick of the trade, I'm willing to bet you the photographer was sitting there with a camera that shoots 13 frames a second and goes through and then goes, wow, got it. I think it's pretty spectacular. Speaking of animals, somebody asked me if I took this last photograph. I did last summer on a 1-week visit to Mongolia. That's a lie. This is the eagle hunter in western Mongolia. When you look at it, it takes your breath away, but what are the elements that make this so spectacular? The horse isn't touching the ground. Is the eagle landing or taking off? It's just an absolutely stunning photograph. Nobody is connected to the earth. And then from the sublime to a bit of the ridiculous. Is this a great photograph? Not necessarily, but there are two reasons I have it here. One is it's a record 466 golden retrievers from more than 12 countries gathered in Scotland to celebrate the 155th anniversary of the breed. Here's the reason I put it in there. I think that's interesting, but it was a breed founded by Lord Tweedmouth in 1868. I've included it because I wanted to say his name publicly, Lord Tweedmouth. 466 golden retrievers. We have a lot of dog lovers talking about these dogs. How about this one? Emily Wagner is a dog trainer, and after class, she takes her 15 dogs for a walk. This is one of USA Today's top picks. What I like about it is how patient they all are. I can't believe that. But then, of course, the one dog that's looking at us. Okay? I mean, to me, that's what makes the photo. This is a giant panda and newborn female twin pandas. Isn't that incredible? I mean, just the immensity of the size. Well, what's really great about this is, to me, the way the photographer captured, are they crying? What are they doing? The most important part is the size of the mother panda's face. And where is the panda looking? Yeah, looking at us. Looking at the photographer. Well, there's fun out in the outback as well. Little air guitar in Australia. All right. So I don't know how many of you used to there was a pizza shop up on it's called Flying Squirrel. Yeah, wasn't that great? It's gone, but Flying Squirrels still exist. Perfectly composed, dead center, coming at you. And then there's the wise old owl. How do you depict the wise old owl? Here's how you do it. Now, what makes the drama in this is the lighting. A photograph is nothing more than capturing light. And the fact that the one eye is lit more than the rest adds the drama to it. But there's one other element. What is that? The crown of the head, the beak, the tilt of the head. In photography, a straight line is calm. Diagonal adds tension. This is not a strong diagonal, but that slight lower eye adds just enough for you to go, oh, if it were just straight on, if you picture just, another picture of a bird, that subtle little difference makes a big difference. Can penguins fly? You bet they can. Can dogs fly? Isn't that incredible? I didn't know a dog could do that. And it's a wonderful photograph. So one of the things that makes it really good is if you were to move in the right edge of the photo closer to the dog's nose, it wouldn't be as dramatic. Because what makes this dramatic is their open space to the right of the dog's nose, so you know it has some place to go. I mean, if you put your hand up and you go like this, you can see the difference. If you crop that out, it doesn't have the same drama as the space where the dog can go. So now we do have a local one. This is quite interesting. This next photo was taken on the Green Lake Path at about 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. It was one of those days where it was very, very dark. And everyone seemed to be headed to the Harscliffe Water's Edge for happy hour. That is not here. I actually don't know what part of the world it's in. What? Isn't it great? So one of the things, the elements that makes this really good are, as I remember when we saw the great wheel and the three, if you'll notice there are 3 raccoons on the ground. Then there are 3 raccoons that are standing. There are actually 4, but one of them's blocking it. And then the one over here. So there are 3 groups, if you will, so that the eye needs to go, okay, oh yeah, I'll see those, I see those. And then it's a path leading you out of the frame But because there is the light way in the back, the photograph has some real depth to it. So it is humorous. It's also very well constructed. Don't you dare get any of that on me. It's always about the eyes. Note the eyes. And the dog, notice also the dog in the back that's kind of out of focus. Yeah, not concerned at all. Because not personally affected. You might see the same thing in photos from the world of current events and politics. Rudy Giuliani, just after learning he was asked to pay $140 million to two Georgia election workers. But notice over his shoulder, another out of focus, disinterested person. So, politics is a wonderful, wonderful place for photographs. So what do you do? What do you do for a heckler, right? Joe Biden has an answer. Then there are just kind of those strange, fortuitous things that happen. You have to look at this one. And now this is one of those where because I shoot a lot of photographs, and I'll come back and look at them, and then I'll see something in it, and I go, oh my God, I didn't know any of that. And I'll bet you money that happened to this person. Didn't realize the bus was driving by, or was so skilled, knew that bus came by out of service every day, and waited. You don't know. Drama. Now, this is Trump taking the stage at a rally in Erie, Pennsylvania. Here's why I selected it, because of the power of the silhouette. Just like a book or a painting, we bring ourselves to the photograph. So we interpret the photograph. So that I'm gonna just really expand on that. If you are a Trump supporter, here is the great man ready to come out onto the stage. If you are anti-Trump and you see him as a danger, there is this Hulk back there ready to come out and take the stage. So either way, it's a dramatic photo. And the part that I like about it is that he's perfectly framed, but then look at the runway. It comes out and turns to the right. Where does it go? Farther right. Some say. But the point is, you see him, and then you automatically say, okay, he's coming out and going around there. I just think that's a pretty dramatic photo. As is this. This was his New York court appearance last year. Here's what I think makes this a really good photograph. First of all, we know where we are. In the upper right-hand corner, we know we're in New York court. That's part 59. But look at the lighting. Trump is the only one that's really perfectly lit. The guy off to his left is lit as well, but it's clearly on the former president. And look at the stern looks on everybody's faces. Nobody has any real emotion except for, of course, Trump. Trump is the only one who's looking directly at the camera. That's what makes that eye contact, what makes it a powerful photo. But there's one other thing that you may not have noticed. It adds real depth to it. There's an observer in the front of the frame. On the left, he's out of focus. He gives the photograph depth. There are three layers. It starts with him, then all the people with Trump, and then the room behind Trump. That gives that photograph real depth. I think the lighting just makes it an absolute excellent photograph. This one I put in here simply for historical perspective. what makes this a good photograph? Forgetting the political part. Well, because it covers so much. These obviously are the stores, the boxes stored at Mar-a-Lago. But if you look at it in the bathroom, the cheap curtain, the cheap window frame, but then the expensive gold faucet on the left, and a chandelier in the bathroom. So think of 50 years from now, people look at this photograph, and if all they look at it just think, well, yeah, that's where those boxes were stored. No, investigate the photograph. What else is the photograph telling you? Tells you a lot about Mar-a-Lago. Chandelier in a bathroom, yep, and a bunch of boxes, sure. Boom. Here's what I like about this photograph. The way it's framed. They're obviously walking into Congress. And you have a president who is from a war-torn country still at battle. You have another president who's struggling to find funding to support him. Backlit perfectly, nothing behind them. And the flags are juxtaposed. The Ukrainian flag next to Biden, and our flag not next to the Ukrainian president. Now, why this photograph? Well, because it's at the State of the Union, and in the background you see Vice President Harris, who's looking at Biden. You have Speaker McCarthy, who's looking at us. They're out of focus. Then you look at Biden's face. Something out of focus. What's in sharp focus? His hand. So, one of the questions we all hear about Biden is age. And I think that the photographer here was trying to say, look at this man's hands. I mean, we all look at our hands and we go, oh yeah, okay, I'm getting older. So I think that was a really intentional move. Because if it were not, the face would be in focus and the hands would not be. Interesting. And then the President of the United States stoking fire at the White House. I mean, that's just interesting. What I like about this photograph is that it's a casual thing. You see him just tossing the log in there. But look at the way it's framed. You know you're in the Oval Office because look at the curve of the wall. And what's behind him? Well, George Washington and Bobby Kennedy. And the chair, when I first looked at that, oh, the chair wrecks it. No, the chair frames it. So you concentrate on those three elements. The portrait, the bust, and the president. Look at some landscapes. Are you ready to go here? I'm not sure where it is. I just left it though. So there's a thing in photography called a leading line. And that is there a line in a photograph that takes your eye somewhere? Well, if you look at the waves on the left and the whole stones that take you up and out over to the right, so your eyes just naturally go from left to right out into infinity, if you will. I'm a big fan of black and white photography, and this is one of my favorites. Now, what do you see in the upper left-hand corner? A face of what? A bear. Thank you. So I showed this to my wife, and she said, no, don't say that. I couldn't resist. But at least one person saw it. Now, do you see the bear? Yeah, there it is. This is called, my term is tragic beauty. This is by Peter Meyer in Australia. This is one of their brush fires approaching a pond. I think it's just a spectacular photograph, because at first when I saw it, I thought, well, that's beautiful. And then I thought, wait a minute, it's not, but it is beautiful. It's destructive beauty. As opposed to a pond in Maine. It's Arcadia National Park in Maine. This photograph has not been manipulated. There's a time of day called the golden hour. And it's that hour just before sunset and after sunset. And this photographer must have waited for a long, long time, because it's absolutely beautiful. This is a volcano, one of the most active volcanoes in South America. It's just outside of Santiago, Chile. That's a lenticular cloud over the top, and then of course the volcano spouting every now and then. I said a few minutes ago that one of the things that a really excellent photographer must have is patience. They also, if you're going to do really spectacular work, need to do planning. So it's planning and patience, understanding where things are going to be at a certain time, being there, and then hoping, praying that the weather is just right, waiting for all of those elements to come together. And you may take many, many tries, and finally, you get the shot. That's landscape category for the Sony World Photographers Award. That's in Spain. Not manipulated. That's not photoshopped. Waited and waited. And can you imagine having to wait for a clear night? And a full moon. Yeah, oh, exactly. Yeah. So look at the calendar. How many full moons are we going to have this year? Blah, 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 blah. You know, and where am I going to go? Where am I going to be? There's a new category called drone photography. This is the way it works. You can see the drones over the three whale. All right? Kind of fun. Oh. How about basketball? Okay? And a maze. People being led through it. All right. Current events. He spoke little and said much. The same sort of thing can be applied to art and photography. Simplicity is powerful. Ouch, sigh, everything. And I told you at the beginning I wasn't going to show you, bloody photos and all of that. This is, to me, a truly spectacular photograph. If the photographer had moved to the left, so that the shoe was there, but we were looking out across the Rio Grande, that'd been interesting. And moved further to the right, so it looked through the shoe toward land where people are trying to go. It might have been all right. But instead, the photographer set it up so the shoe is in perfect focus, and you're looking down the concertina wire, which I think was what makes that so powerful. Simplicity. Doing something on top of the tank, and then look at the very front of the tank. That person just leaning against them. What's going on? And then behind that are those people. Are we seeing dust, smoke? Is this a battlefield? We don't know. But certainly it's not a place that's peaceful. What I like about this is Olga Conover in Palm Bay, Florida, walking down a bridge carrying a flag that she merged the American and the Ukrainian flag. And for me, what I like about it is that the sun just off the edge of the flag is what's illuminating the flag. And then you also have those two diagonal lines going down the road. Add some tension to it. Here's another dramatic photo. What's powerful here are the hands, right? And the hand on the left is actually a relief worker handing clothing through to the people on the other side. Can you see the element that makes this really strong? The kid. There's drama everywhere, and the child's face is flat. These are migrants running through wide open monsoon floodgates at a border wall near Lukeville, Arizona. What I like about this photograph is the fact that the main character, if you will, is in all white. Our eyes are automatically drawn to the lightest part of a photograph. And there's just real energy. And I think it shows a little bit of the desperation these people feel for, coming here. On the lighter side, so she's taking a smoke break during the big lunch celebrating in Regis Park, celebrating the coronation of King Charles III. What I like about it is that she's having a smoke, checking her phone, great little flight. And the fact that she's offset, if she'd been in the center of the path, offset gives us some real depth. The eye goes toward the back to that light spot. Not everyone was excited at the coronation. Do you think Prince Louis is having a good time? I don't know whether he's attempting to sing, yelling, or yawning. But if you look, he's the only one with any kind of expression. Look at the rest of them. It's kind of like, when will this be over? There's something new on the horizon in Las Vegas. If you haven't seen it, this is the Sphere. And the reason I put this photograph in here is because it's just so amazing, but also the size of it. So it lit up for the first time on the 4th of July. It's 366 feet tall and 516 feet wide. It has 580,000 square feet display of largest LED screen in the world. So that eye actually moves around. It is frightening and disconcerting. Well, look at the size of the buildings next to it. I mean, that's not an optical illusion. That's how big it is. And then there's the shot, which I think is really great because it gives you a sense of scale. These two people wearing obviously Las Vegas style clothing with only in Las Vegas a pack of cigarettes on the curb next to them. But it gives you a sense of that. Then there's this one. Now why would I put that in there? Because it's great. But wait a minute. It's a flood. This woman is being rescued. Why is the fireman smiling? It's because as he was carrying her out, she said, I did not make that up. That is, in fact, the case. Some general lenses shots that I like. This is really difficult to do because one person has to be standing still in order to capture that. This is a short time-lapse photography. That's how everybody's blurred. And not only that one individual frozen, he's looking at us. Eye contact. Now you want to see energy? Look at that. This is they're called sea gypsies in the Southeast Asian Sea. He fishes 8 hours a day, and he and his daughter then take the food, the fish in and barter for other supplies. She paddles the boat. But look at that. It's just, and again, notice it's not centered. So you get the sense that it's a big ocean out there. Can you hear the music? Is that going to be hard or soft? Jazz pianist Jason Moran in New York City. Juxtaposition. Would you be frightened if that truck drove behind you? This is about lighting. What I like about this photograph are the layers. You got the two women looking outside. Did you notice the two dogs? And then, of course, the scenery. So they're telling their dogs about the scenery. Paris, dance class. What makes this a powerful photo for me is there are actually two photos. The one on the right, the instructor, the only one in black, directly under the Eiffel Tower. That part of the frame is totally uncluttered. And then you come over to the other side, the other picture window that frames them, and you have this dancer frozen in midair. I think it's just simply a spectacular photo. As is this. If you saw that on the subway or somewhere, you'd take that photo, wouldn't you? You whip out your phone and you take that photo. It's kind of a portrait. Let's look at some portraits. Award-winning portrait. Holy man. But what makes this, not just the holy man sitting there, it's the dog that makes the photograph. Because it adds depth. He's in the foreground, looking at this holy man. I still can't tell whether or not the holy man is smiling or just. And then, of course, what's over the holy man's shoulder? The sun. So you have this direct line of power. Here's another one of my favorites. What do I like about this photo? Well, this is the power of colors. Look at the maroon, I guess it is, at the top above his head, and it's the color of his shirt or sweater. Over to the side, the color of his jacket. Look at the way the beard is split. So what's the story you make up about this person? That's what we do when we look at things. We make up the story. Is this guy a retired rhythm and blues player? Is he, I mean, what? You don't know. And I love the hands. So the story we make up as we look at a photo, what's the story you make up with this? Slight groan. Why? That's a photograph with a lot of impact. The only parts that are in focus are her eye, and the shards around it. I think it's a very dynamic photo. Color. Yeah. Oh. Now, look at the diagonal line. On the left, stark white. You know it's cold, right? And then on the right, where this child is, inside his or her home. It's, we assume, warm and comfortable. This child is ready. This is a family in Bolivia. And she is, if you look at her, she is a climber. She has a rope across her chest. She has a climbing pole in her right hand and her helmet. And you know it's rough because you can see the background. So that's what makes it, though, is the expression on her face. Okay, yeah, I can do this, I'm ready. The next one is has a little story behind it, and it is that this photographer was hired to take a portrait of this couple's little girl, and he spent an hour. She's just running around screaming, right? He cannot get her to sit down. Cannot get her to sit down. And finally she comes around and she sits down once, and then she, make ugly faces. Sits down, and he simply said, you are really cute. And he got that. Now, I have one more portrait to show you. And what you need to understand is, from now on, none of these photographs have been manipulated. From now on, artificial intelligence is going to change the way we look at photography. We know what it's doing to the written word and all of that sort of thing. This I find to be the most frightening portrait I've ever seen. Artificial intelligence. If you didn't know about it, you'd say, oh, hey, they're friends. Nope. Okay, my favorites. These are just little samples. Something local. That's the vapor trail at the back of a Blue Ranger. Jennifer Buchanan of the Seattle Times took that. I think it's a timing shot, and I think it's just absolutely incredible. Here is my absolute favorite, though. Look at this photograph. This is Macklemore. So he's at the end of a concert, and the story is the photographer is in the crowd, has been in the crowd for the entire concert. Macklemore does an encore. The photographer stands there. Macklemore does one final encore, and the photographer standing there has the camera at the ready. Macklemore literally steps off the stage into the hands of the crowd and starts walking toward the photographer. Well, that alone is stunning, but look at this photograph. In the background, the musicians are still playing. And I would swear to heavens, the trombone player is pleading with God above to keep it safe. Then, if you look at those hands, they're perfectly lit. The one hand on the right-hand side, with all the bands on it, holding him up, I just think it's an incredible photograph. Very complex, powerful. Simplicity can be powerful, too. So that's Barbie holding Ken. And then there's this. This is from Steve McCurry, two young girls in South Africa.